Good day. I am redoing a video that was already supposed to be up here, but it seems to have disappeared. This time I'm using screencast instead of Zoom. The Zoom recordings sometimes do disappear, and unfortunately I didn't catch that it was being deleted. This is going to be discussing the second essay assignment that comes up. It's due the 24th, so it's about 1 week away. I have posted, and I sent out a message, an example essay for you to look at. This example essay, which I've just clicked on, is posted under the essay topics module. And in this one you will see an essay that is a standard and fairly good essay of what needs to be done, the approach that's taken, the discussion of the literature as well as the author. And so as you go through this particular one, the focus, as I noted, is about Mark Twain, his significance, and why his work, in this particular case, focus is going to be on Huck Finn, why his work is important to American literature. And it says here that Mark Twain has proven to be of significance in American literature, that what this one work especially helps to do. And so it gives a little background about him, his approach, and the idea about what's is in Huck Finn and what it does. That it's not a perfect essay, and I did not do any corrections. For instance, this should not have been possessive form. Should have been the plural, so no apostrophe there. This is a not marked copy. This is an unmarked copy of the essay. As it says, it's a good essay. It does what it needs to do. It's not in any particular case overly extended and developed. It could have been a little bit more to it. For instance, when it's talking about the details that are offered and in classrooms, it could have used maybe some more specific examples rather than just start offering this general view. And then when it talks about Twain's work, it gives you the very specific detail about Huck's moral decision. That could have been extended a little bit more to show why this is so important to America and American literature. Could have been worked on a little bit more. And then it concludes and wraps up with that with the citation. So again, solid essay, does what needs to be done for the assignment, which is what we're about to look at. Give me just a moment as this all changes. There we go. Again, you have a module that is the essay topics. We'll come back to the research paper. Essay topics, and you'll see the second essay. You'll see the due date is the 24th. You actually have a little window. I have a window set up so that just in case something happens, we have an extra few hours before that closes off. So this is the assignment. Get that a little bit bigger. This is a fairly standard detail. Talk about literary analysis and what you're expected to do. Selecting one of the authors whose work you've been asked to read, so you get to go back through the reading list and what's been assigned. And you're going to discuss the significance of that author to American literature. As we were just talking about with Mark Twain. In the example essay, the focus there was about his contribution, and especially the work of the particular work of Huckleberry Finn, and how that really has meaning for study. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to offer critical commentary. Not so much about the background. A little bit maybe, but for the most part, no. You're going to explain why this author merits study, why this is someone we include in anthologies so that we can look at that person's work and discuss it. And so you're going to talk about the critical reputation of this author. You're going to look at that idea. It should be about 800 or so words. It can go longer than that if you will. The example essay is a little over 800 words, I think. So this is due by the 24th. Again, standard aspects. Again, keep in mind that when you discuss literature, use present tense. Do not use statements like I believe, it's my opinion. Any statement that you make will be understood to be your own view unless you're citing information. Then, of course, the citation tells us where that information came from. So you don't need any of that. And you definitely do not use second person. It's not a conversation. It's not a history. It's not a report, but an analytical paper where you're going to really look at the idea of the particular work and talk about how this author, through his or her work, helps to provide something important that we as students of American literature need to recognize. To give you an idea of some of these comments, let me go back to the textbook. I'd had it open earlier, but I accidentally closed it. Bear with me just a moment. It takes a little while. I said I had it open earlier and I closed it accidentally. And it's going to make me register again. Oh no, here it goes. Log me in. There we go. Within, for instance, I'm going to go to American Literature since 1945, Volume E. And again, bear with me. I'm sorry. I had accidentally closed this, and I had not realized it was closed. Takes a little time for this to load. I'm sure you probably have experienced some of this as well. Sometimes Norton and Canvas just takes a little while to mesh together. Alright, so in this particular section in Volume E, there are several different ones here who are listed in there, some comments about them. And in the introduction, if I can get this to work. Okay. There we go. Okay. In this particular one, it talks a little bit about certain authors. For instance, it talks about the idea of, well, yeah, okay. Junot Diaz, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, and so you have this aspect here. So it talks a little bit about this work, and that his hero and all that brings him to life embody what truly feels new in American writing. So it's addressing what is important about Diaz's writing and his presentation. It goes on to talk about his allusions, the idea about genre fiction, superhero comic. As prose brings other writers, where it makes references, there are a number of allusions in his work, and that his literary and cultural vision is very encompassing. And so again, it talks in this particular part about Diaz and what he contributes and how he is really helping to shape what 21st American literature is. So those are the kind of comments you want to make, and then you want to, they just sort of give some general ones here. It would, if you were going to do a little more extensive work here, you would actually go through Oscar Wilde and pull out some of those details and discuss those. The allusions that are in that novel, you would pull those out and explain how those are contributing to a better understanding of our culture, who we are, which is what they say his works are doing, an understanding of how we see ourselves and see ourselves in the world. So that's all part of it that you would want to look at. So again, key points there. And so this is the kind of ideas that you want to incorporate into your essay. Some of those same aspects, the idea about the views, the attitudes, the culture that is now America, as you're looking at the different works. So you want to look at those kind of ideas. Give you another example of that that's in your book. In this particular, I think it's this one right here. Let me make sure I get the right one. Yeah, about literature now. The idea about some of the key aspects of the digital culture and what's going on with it. And this idea of what the critic Wolkowitz has offered, and that Southern novelist William Faulkner, how he's been received around the world and looked at. And so again, this is an important aspect as you look at these authors, that these are individuals who are contributing. And they mention some other ones here along with DIs. You have Tracy K. Smith, for instance. It has been mentioned twice on this one. So again, it's showing what, as it says here, the sense of what merits readers' attention. And that's what you're going to try to discuss. You're going to try to discuss what is it about the writer you've selected, what is it about this writer, what is it about that work by that writer that merits attention, that deserves to be read and deserves to be discussed. What is it that this writer has produced? What is it this writer has addressed through his or her work that is important enough that we study that literature? So that's really what you are looking at. And again, you have several different authors. I'm going to go back to, there we go, the module. And of course, it's going to take a while to do all this, so collapse this. There we go. Under your course schedule, some of the authors that you can be looking at for this one, of course, or anyone that we start with, going back to Whitman and Dickinson, which the book sort of goes back and offers some of those. We have Huck Finn, you've got Booker T. Washington, Joel Chandler Harris, E.B. Du Bois, you have Bret Harte, Henry James, you have Chopin, and you have Stephen Crane, Paul Laurence Dunbar, Jack London, Amy Lowell, E.A. Robinson, the poets of Frost and Sandburg, Stevens Eliot, Pound, Williams, Marianne Moore and H.D., Claude McKay, Edna St. Vincent Millay, E. Cummings, just again, the writers of like Fitzgerald and Faulkner and Hemingway, the other poets, Theodore Roethke, Robert Lowell, the authors of plays, the dramatists of Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, some of our more contemporary African American writers, Ralph Ellison, James Baldwin, Martin Luther King, and his writing. And then, of course, you have in your book about, which is for next week, about some women. I'll have a video on that aspect for you, about women, and that goes back to the textbook. And let me get that one here. And you'll see that going down here, you'll see a number of these women here. Toni Morrison, let me get this so it quits jumping everywhere. Toni Morrison, there she goes, okay. Lorraine Hansberry, we have a few others down here, such as Alice Walker. You have Sandra Cisneros, good Texas girl. You have a number that we're going to be looking at, and I'll have a video about this one also, if it hasn't disappeared. And so, again, you have a number of these to go with. And, of course, you can look at the other volumes. Let me close this one. You can go to, again, Volume D. And you have a number of writers there that you've been asked to read. You have, of course, in the earlier one, a number as well that you can look at and discuss. So the idea is to consider, as it says here, what is it about this author that deserves readers' attention? What is it about his or her work that has contributed to American literature, helps us to understand more about America, American culture, where we're going, where we've been, and what we need to continue to strive to be. All those are aspects that you can look at within the work. So you want to choose from those and work with it in that way. And again, this is sort of an opportunity for you to think about and comment over what you've been asked to read and why you were asked to read such authors and such works. Because, you run across these authors and it's like, okay, I have to read this one. Well, think about why. Over the course of the semester, you've had the background reading, as well as the primary sources written by the authors. I've posted some videos and try to get you to think about what these authors represent and what it is that they try to give to us. In the overview notes, you have the time periods. There's the lecture there, that notes that hopefully you looked at. There have been other detailed comments under Huckleberry Finn, for instance. Early, there are some lectures to look at about what they are saying about those. Under Volume E, you have material from the publisher. I want to show you this one, where it talks about some of these major ideas and issues, and the idea about cross-cultural, the idea about the voices that come through, and some of those aspects there that can be looked at. And so those are some points that hopefully you looked at those little notes from the publisher to help you to see what it is that you're looking at and what you're working with. And so this is what you're really looking at and considering. Again, this is the overview of the period where it focuses on some main points and some main details about what has happened and where it comes from. And so details that are there, the idea about modern and postmodernism, how that is brought about. Stylistically, there have been a number of changes, and when you look at modern poetry, for instance, you see the changes that have occurred. When you look at the different kind of writings and voices that have happened, those are some of the things that you can consider as you focus on a particular author and explain how that author has contributed and why we then continue to study that person. You also have the research paper coming up as your final. I have an example one for you up here, and then, of course, the actual topic is here. I noted when I went in here that Canvas had the wrong file uploaded, so I shuffled the file. I have the right file now, so your date's correct. Again, background, first few paragraphs standard. Again, it's an analytical essay that you're writing. It's going to be where you have a good thesis, good details and discussion, following MLA format, using present tense, no I's, no we's, no you's, using sources from our TVCC library resources. No other sources are being needed, at least 5 of those, approximately 2,000 words. And you have 3 choices of topics. One about women in society, and ask you to look at some earlier works from earlier in the semester. The Awakening by Chopin, Maggie by Crane, and Daisy Miller by James. Ask you to look at those. I give you some details about those. And then I ask you to consider 2 of those 3 works and offer a commentary about it as you look at the theme of individual and society, women in society, the different views and attitudes that they have, how the characters come across as presented, and then the idea about the social codes and mores, the standards that are depicted in each of those works. So you're going to look at those, and the bulleted list is not a set of questions just for you to answer, but points to consider and think about as you're developing your essay. The second one is about the Harlem Renaissance. Again, ask you to choose 2 of the listed authors from the Harlem Renaissance and talk about how that represents a changing of American culture. Again, some of the details to think about just are bulleted here for you. Doesn't mean you answer those questions to write your research paper, but these are some points that may help you to process the information, help you to come up with a thesis, helps you to organize your thoughts. And then the last one is about 21st century changes. As it says, the textbook says it's a new generation in search of meaning and identity. And then quoting about the use of the internet, the idea about commentaries on social change. I give you a comment about Arthur Miller and August Wilson, and Toni Morrison, Rita Dove, and Billy Collins, and what they offer in their works. So I ask you to choose 2 of these authors from Volume E, and there's a number of them. And they sort of give you some ideas and themes. I just mentioned a few. There are others you could choose. And again, the bulleted questions here are just ways of helping you to organize your thoughts, help you create a sense of focus. Does not mean you answer those. And so this is the research paper that serves as your final. To find the sources, our library resources here are very useful. You simply click on that tab. And then you have EBSCO to search, which is always useful. For instance, if I were to put in Harlem Renaissance, and hit search, it's going to ask me to log in. And you just log in with your same login as your previous ones for Canvas or for your email. It'll then take you and will show you articles. And the easiest way to get this organized, as this is coming along, you want the full text article because you want the whole article to read. And then with the EBSCO, you almost always have this. This is a research starter. So if you're going to look at the question over the Harlem Renaissance writers, you might want to start here, find out a little bit about the Harlem Renaissance, what was involved, who was involved, and suddenly you're looking at Claude McKay, Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen. Those are the writers, and you also have other individuals involved with the Harlem Renaissance, not for our study, but they're people as well. Gives you some background details of these individuals, some of the significance of this, what's important about the Harlem Renaissance and the writers who are involved there. It just sort of gives you some background of all this. It also, because of the links here, let me show you this. Get back up here. Claude McKay. If you click on that, since it's in blue, it will then take you to Claude McKay and details about him. And so it gives you a little bit about his background, but also suggests about some of his importance. And so you have some details that way. I'm going to go back to the listing here. And so you have other articles here that you can look at. Some of these are books that talk about it. This one, for instance, is a book that's in our library. You can look at and find it. This one is Literary Criticism, and here's what the table of contents that I've, well, one of these days is going to show this. Okay, here we go. It keeps jumping on me every time I try to move and click on that one. You'll see that here it shows you a number of works of the importance of certain figures. Now, James Baldwin and Ralph Ellison are really not part of the Harlem Renaissance. They are the 20th century later writers, but you do have some other ones here. You'll see Claude McKay is mentioned. If you click on him and go to this particular work, it will take you to the book. Give it a moment. Still trying to load it. So again, it gives a detail about McKay, his achievements, about his biography here, which is really not needed. Okay. The idea about his work, his prose style, his elements, again, aspects that you can look at, and it may help you have some ideas. So you have that one, and we're going to go back here. There we go. Again, there are a number of different articles here to look at that talk about the Harlem Renaissance, and again gives you some details about the importance of it and what it represents. If I want to oops. If I want to do a little bit more with this one, I can go to the advanced search, Harlem Renaissance, and then I can put in Claude McKay. And you'll see it comes up. And you search. And give it a moment as it looks. And you'll see again over here you want to change it to full text because you want the whole article. And there it talks about his work. Black femininity in his novels. The idea of the poetry here that's discussed. Representation of jazz in his novels. So a number of different works you can look at here that will help you. Also in our library resources we have research databases. This one is, Artemis is good, but it's basically a Gale one. Bloom's Literature is good. And then the Literature Resource Center, which is basically all of Gale, has it in there. And if you click on that one, you have to log in, but I'm already logged in, so I should not have to do it again. And so if I were to be looking for, again, Claude McKay, give me just a moment as we're trying to get this called up. And I just simply do Claude McKay. And search. You'll see there are a number of critical literary criticism about him, overview about his work, the idea about some other key aspects about it, the Songs of Morocco discussion, that's some of his work. If you want to look for a particular poem, you can go up here and put in that work, or you can simply go to these overviews, and you'll see some of these are offered here. Tropics in New York, If We Must Die, one of the works that you were asked to read and write about. And so you click on this, and bear with it just a moment, take just a little bit of time, and you will see a little commentary about it, the details of it, and again, just a very short little commentary. Also under the research database, you have balloons. And so if you go here and you're going to look up, let's say you're going to work with Maggie and Daisy Miller, we'll go with those two. Well, under balloons, again, you just look and give it a moment. You can start with the author. So let's start with Stephen Crane. Normally it pops up about that time. I don't have to do anything. But didn't do it that time. So we have Stephen Crane. And you have a number of background. And this is what's really good about Bloom. It doesn't do it for every author, but it will give you suggestions on how to approach writing about this particular author or about this particular work. And so it goes into some of the details about his literary past, some of the major themes that you can find in his work, the idea about characters such as women, which would be the focus that you would want for the topic for your research paper. As it says here, Maggie, the so-called fallen woman. There are other women as well, but the idea here, the history and context, some of the idea about right and wrong that you may be able to incorporate into the idea about looking at Maggie, as well as this idea about characters and the views there, psychological aspects, and that's brought into it. And then it also, this is from a book, and you'll see how to write about Maggie. And you see the details here, talking about the work, some of the main themes within the work, some of the main concepts, what's offered, the idea about values, right, wrong, etc. Idea about Maggie herself, what she can represent, especially in relationship to the other characters, other female figures and male figures, and then the whole context and the background of it. And so again, you have a number of different views and attitudes you can look at here. So it'll help you get yourself organized. This is not a critical article. It's not one of the ones that you want to use to help for background, but it'll maybe give you some points that you can use as you want to write about it. To find the critical material, we go back, and you'll see criticism. And you click on it, and you can look at the details. There's one about, that's what I was looking for, Stephen Crane and the Fallen Women. And again, this talks a little bit about Maggie. This was done, oh Lord, I didn't realize this, 40 years ago is when this one was written. Okay. But you can see the details about his female figures that he creates, both in poetry and in his fiction. And you'll see that he talks about a number of different views there. And then, of course, also brings in about his life, Cora. But there we have about Maggie, the idea here, written when he was 21, what's offered there, views, and you can see some of the concepts and ideas there. I'll talk about Maggie's downfall, attributed to poverty, the life of the shop girl, etc. And so you have this detail that he breaks it by placing much of the blame for Maggie's fate on the women of the slums. And so you have some key points that you can look at, that about Christian hypocrisy and other aspects there. So you have, this work will have some points that you can use to help to build your own analysis of that work. Just help to support it. What's really nice about all these sources, the citation is provided for you right there. You just have to copy. Fix it a little bit because they don't have the hanging indentions. They show it as double space, but when you copy it doesn't show. So that literally, if I were to copy this and open up Word, and again, bear with me as I'm opening up Word. But you, with the balloons and also with the Gale, the literature resource center, they all have this citation tool where you don't have to worry about what do I put in, how do I put that in. You don't have to worry about that. Just go here, center, and put works cited. Hit enter, go back to the left margin, and then, bear with me, yeah, there it is, paste. And now that's not the right way because it's not in MLA format, but you just have to mark this. Go up here where it says paragraph in that little corner, and you're going to go to special. You're going to put hanging indentation. You're going to change that to 0, and then you're going to change this to double. Hit OK, and there it is. That's how it should look. And so you can do all your citations that way. Just going through and using those. For instance, going back over here to the overview from the Gale one. It has the citation tool as well. And there it is. And again, all you do is copy it, go back to your works cited page, hit enter, and when you paste this one in here, and I'm pasting it, merging format, it automatically does a hanging indentation for you. So this is how your works cited page should look, of course, and that's how easy it is to do your citations using these sources from our research databases. Even the one with the EBSCO button has this. This is a commentary about McKay. It has some good remarks. So if I were looking at this here at EBSCO, there's my citation. Now it gives you options of several different ones. Of course, you want MLA. Just copy it. Now it happens that that is Peterson, so alphabetically that would come next. And again, merger formatting, and there it is. And so you have your works cited page put together as easily as that, which is so much more convenient than it used to be. But again, using our library resources, Bloom's and the Literature Resource Center are the two good ones. Artemis Literature Resources also can be used. The EBSCO button is a good one to go with to start finding some details as well. So again, for your research paper itself, you choose one of the three topics. Bear with us, it's going to collapse. There we go. You choose one of the three topics that include the Harlem Renaissance, the Women in Society, again the works of Chopin and The Awakening, Maggie by Stephen Crane, Daisy Miller by Henry James, two of those three. Harlem Renaissance again. And then the last one concerns about 21st century changes. Some of the things I was just talking about earlier. And looking at some of those works. It says 21st century, but it references Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams, August Wilson. They were actually still writing, and Toni Morrison, they were writing at the end of the 20th century, so this sort of an overlap into from the 20th to the 21st century. So those are still part of it. Anybody in Volume E is acceptable for you. Works by two of the authors. Where again, essentially, each one of these topics, whichever one you choose, is allowing you to do a comparison contrast essay. So that literally you're looking at two different works and the background and details and discussion of those works, so that you're only writing about 1,000 words or so about each work, which is not, hopefully will not be too egregious, not too difficult to do. It should be fairly well set up that you can do that. So again, this is coming up as your final. So as soon as we get through with the second essay topic, and hopefully you've already been planning and working on your research paper a little bit, getting some preliminary ideas. But I'm also trying to make the topics, with the exception of the last one, works that you would have read earlier in the semester. So you do not have to necessarily go back and read something totally new. That you have works that we've already covered, discussed. You've already done some work on some of these before, either through discussion questions or essay or the exam, the 2 out of 3 discussion question exam. So that literally you have some background already for the topics. I was trying not to choose anything that was brand new that you had to suddenly start from scratch on. So hopefully that will help you with this one. And hopefully also this discussion about the second essay and the example that I posted, as this jumps again, will help you with that one. And again, it jumps all over the place here. Bear with me. One more time. The essay topic and the second assignment, where you get a chance to offer us a commentary about why a writer is important, why the work of that writer is important to the grand scheme of American literature, why we keep going back and putting these people into anthologies and asking students to read them, to study them. What is that we gain from exposure to such literature? So I hope this helps. And again, I'm sorry that wasn't posted earlier. There was supposed to be one available. As I said, it seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to post this one, and I'll send a note out that has been posted. And again, I'm looking forward to reading your essays. And hopefully you'll keep in mind the email message I sent to you. Turn it in. Not only checks for plagiarism aspects, it's also checking for AI generation. And again, technology is wonderful, but please do not use that for this essay assignment or for the research paper. have everything be your own work, please. And I'm sure you will, and I'm looking forward to it.